Oh, it is recording. Okay, first of all, I can't see anything. It's better. Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Emma and welcome to my mediocre painting class. If I can paint, you can paint, and that is science. Don't look that up. Today, we're gonna be painting this little sucker. Super cute, so I hope you follow along with me and enjoy. Okay, so I forgot to hit record when I started sketching, so here's just a taste of what I was doing when the camera wasn't recording. I sketched out what's going to be some mountains and also a river. Now I'm taking my ruler and I'm going to draw a line down the center-ish of the circle to distinguish where the mountains start and the ground begins. And just a couple tune-ups here and there. So next I want to add in a sun. I decided that this thing ultimately was going to make it too round, if that makes sense, so I decided to just freehand it. It's not going to be as round, but for whatever reason, at that moment in time, I decided that it was going to be too round if I used the compass. So I'm just going to sketch out the sun. I decided I wanted to add in some kind of cute adventure type quote, so I decided to go with Seek Adventure because it's definitely one of my favorites. I put it on as like a little accent to most landscape pieces that are kind of adventure inspired, and this one definitely is. Although I realized as I was writing adventure, I started writing it too far to the right, and so I ended up having to erase it, but that's okay because that's part of art. Sometimes you do something and it doesn't work out and you have to erase it, and it's just fine. So I started over again and it worked out much better this time. You know how if you stare at a word too long, it starts to not look like a word? That's what happened here, so I had to double check that I was spelling adventure correctly. Thankfully, I did. These are going to be lined mountains, and so what we're going to do is we're going to carve out the areas where we're going to put the lines. If you're not sure what lined mountains are, you can look them up on Pinterest. It's a cute style of drawing for mountains. It's kind of graphic. Some people use lines, some people use zigzags, some people use dots. It's just a fun style, and it's usually my go-to. We're gonna go ahead and make this a rainbow river. Why not? So what we're gonna do is draw a line down the center and then draw lines beside it until we have 6 sections. Just gonna check real quick to see if my brush is small enough to paint with, and we're gonna start with the first color, which is flamenco red. Next, we're going to go in with Spiced Carrot, and I just wanted to mention real quickly that these are the matte acrylic apple barrel paints, and I got these ones at Walmart. And next is Yellow Flame. Next, Spring Green. Now Pool Blue. finally purple in the shade Lilac Mist. Now we are going to go in with just the shade white and we're going to paint our mountains. Now we're going to go back in with that same yellow flame color that we used in our rainbow river, and we're going to paint our sun that color, or moon. It could be a moon if you want. Next, let's go in with a black regular tipped Sharpie to trace and bolden up our design. And you know what the heck, let's go ahead and trace our words as well. Now, here's where those little lines come in. You're going to draw tiny little lines diagonally down the shadow part of your mountain. I ended up going back into the Rainbow River and tracing between each color with the fine tip of that same black Sharpie. And back in with the regular tip to trace around the sun. And now it's time to paint again, so we're going to go in with Wild Iris, Key West, and Cameo Pink. I chose a round tip brush for this next part. Now I like to watercolor with acrylics. I don't know how usual that is. I haven't really seen it anywhere else, but I also haven't really looked. Let me know if you guys have ever heard of that or if you've ever done that. I'd be interested to know that. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just loading up my brush with water. I'm dipping it into my acrylic paint, kind of giving it a swish, and then putting it onto my canvas, and then doing it with the next color and slowly blending them in. And that's a cool thing about watercolor, is that it'll kind of blend in with the colors it's next to because there's so much water involved. But I like to do it with acrylics, and maybe that's a regular thing, maybe it's not. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have seen something like that, because I'm sure it's happened, but I've never looked for it. So next I made an impulse decision to paint the entire ground black. I actually like how it turned out because this isn't exactly a realistic looking landscape, so having a black ground is not nuts in my opinion. And then next I ended up going back into the sky with that same Key West color because I decided I didn't like how much purple was there, so I wanted to add more blue and pink instead. forcing matte acrylic paint to dry faster than it already does anyway, and then going back into the rainbow road with the regular tip of that same black Sharpie to bolden up those lines, because I liked the way it looked much better. Next, clean up our other Sharpie lines. Okay, I decided I didn't like how the matte black looked and decided to go back over it with gloss black. And some more cleanup. Next, I'm going in with an oil-based Sharpie paint marker in the color white, and I'm gonna go over the words that I put down before. And basically what happens when you put oil over acrylic, it kind of has this sort of reaction usually. And I'm gonna pretend that I totally remembered that and didn't think that this would work. Also, enjoy me freaking out over dropping something. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. What the? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh jeez. I had accidentally violently dropped my plate that had all my paints on it, and my paint water went everywhere. It was a whole situation. Alas, back to work. So what I'm doing here is just going over the words with white acrylic paint to make them white instead of black. My camera had stopped recording, so here's what it looks like at the end of all of that. Now I'm gonna go back in with the fine tip of that same Sharpie pen, and I'm gonna trace around all of the words. This part was by far the most meticulous. And voila, this is the finished product of our painting adventure. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys followed along. I'd love to know. Follow me on Snapchat at memzey-rose and Instagram at memzey.rose. Like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.